Hey guys, this is my very first video, so I really hope you'll support it and enjoy what I made. Today I've got some of the funniest and most awkward Reddit stories for you, all with satisfying Minecraft gameplay in the background. Sit back, grab a snack if you want, and enjoy the video. I hope you like it. Let's get started. What's the funniest thing that happened at your school? When I was in high school, I had this teacher named Mr. Williams who had a habit of hitting the board when he got angry. One day, when some girls in the back were laughing, he got mad while holding a pen in one hand and a ruler in the other. He slammed his hand against the board while holding the pen. He hit the board so hard the pen snapped and ink leaked out on his hand and shoes. Afterwards, he got even more frustrated, so he punched the board with his other hand. The ruler he held snapped in half, like perfectly, clean in half. He got so mad he hit the board with both hands like he was goddamn Muhammad Ali, and as expected, the board fell off the wall right on his toe. He walked out fuming, and afterwards the class erupted in laughter. He didn't come to school the next day. I went to a small rural school that had Drive Your Tractor to School Day every year, which led to some students slowly driving lawn tractors and commercial mowers and things like that down the road, along with a variety of large commercial farm tractors and antique farm equipment, which was cool to see. We had a teacher who would put his feet up on his desk and trim his toenails in class, which was disgusting but funny, and another teacher who made a sign that said, "I have a potty mouth," that he would make you wear around your neck if you swore in his class, which was also hilarious and not a dissuasive measure, so he gave up on that. Now that you mention it, there were quite a few different teachers that would freak out like that. Break things, kick garbage cans, throw chairs, throw desks. I remember one kid getting thrown into the hallway in his desk. It was one of those old school wood and steel one-piece jobs. Kid was in the front row, teacher grabbed the table part and just swung the whole thing sideways, launching him right into the hall. The kid stayed in the desk the whole time and ended up just sitting in the middle of the hallway, looking straight at us, in complete shock. I still don't understand how it was even physically possible for that to happen. Actually, it's crazy to even think that things like that used to happen at all. It's funny now, but wasn't at the time. Our chemistry teacher preached safety and proper procedures incessantly, until one morning when he tripped over his own feet and dropped 2 ounces of sodium into the cast iron sink. The explosion put a hole in the ceiling, also the floor of the library. No one was hurt, and the ceiling/floor was fixed a week later during winter break. Everyone was surprised when the teacher was there when we returned. Teacher had a cream pie to the face attempt. What I saw was her running in a yellow spring big skirted dress and heels down the hall and stairs, across the courtyard and out another door where she tackled the kid, then sat on him until other adults arrived. I went to a laboratory school at a state teachers college, so we always had student teachers and college students around the school observing classes. So I have 2 stories, both to do with science classes. First, our high school science teacher was very strict about not fooling around in the science lab rooms. He didn't want anyone to get hurt. Well, one day close to the end of the semester, the student teacher, who was about halfway across the room, squirted me with water from a large syringe. No big deal. Everyone thought it was funny, but I thought, yeah, I'll get even with him sometime. He was a cool guy, so this was all in fun. Well, one day a week or so later, we were in gym class playing dodgeball. I was on the team on the far end of the gym. This student teacher walks into the gym. I heave the ball in a perfect shot that hits the wall about a foot from his head. He jumped about 6 feet. He had no idea who threw it. The next day I told him. He had a good laugh from it. Second, same science classroom, but during a summer school semester. The last day of class, we really had nothing to do, so the teacher had us cleaning all the glassware. We ran out of dish soap, so I took a large test tube down to the boys' room and filled it up with hand soap from the dispenser. Of course it was yellow. So when I was walking back down the hall, carrying a test tube full of yellow, foamy liquid, a college student sees my life come out of the boys' room and passing me. You should have seen the look on his face. Priceless. Oh, I just thought of another one. In junior high, our old science teacher, who was about ready to retire, used to say about all of the lab equipment, Adam and Eve brought this all over on the Mayflower. We had a teacher who was a little on the weird side, and people know that. One day in class, a boy went on her laptop when she went out the class, and she had been writing Harry Potter fan fiction about them getting it on. She got bullied out the school pretty quickly. At our lunch period in 2000/01, we had a history of rock show. Students and faculty would perform rock through the ages. Well, towards the end of the show, a group of students jumped on stage in chimp suits and jammed Bloodhound Gang's The Bad Touch. They hit the chorus and then were chased out by faculty. Awesome memory. Not my class, but my daughter's. A boy had his phone taken away by a teacher, and when she left the classroom, the kid dropped a big long deuce right behind her desk. Then he proceeded to have his buddy's top shelf, look it up, all the boys' toilets in the school. It was referred to as Poopgate. The kid got caught and his parents pulled him, and they moved, so nothing came of it, really. This is hilarious. The moment of unexpected chaos combined with laughter was hilarious. It also sounds like there was a short period of reflection, and then the humor broke out, where there was once tension. We had a senior prank every year. In my senior year, we all started stealing for sale signs from houses. One night, we put them all on the front lawn of the high school, at least 100 signs. This happened when I was in grade 6. I get to school one morning, and everyone's just standing outside in minus 10 degrees Celsius weather, which sucked. Turns out, 2 raccoon families decided to have a party in our school overnight and completely destroyed 2 classrooms. Took them about 6 hours, apparently. I still don't understand how raccoons can cause that much damage, but whatever. The teachers couldn't let us inside because of the whole raccoon thing, but we were getting pretty cold, so they had us run from the front door straight to the gym to avoid any potential raccoon meetings. Kind of weird, but made sense, I guess. We ended up just watching Toy Story in the gym while pest control dealt with it. After a couple hours, they told us the raccoons were gone and we could go back to normal classes. Honestly, wasn't the worst school day. Beat doing math worksheets. So basically we had this one kid, I'll call him Sleepyhead, because all he did was sleep through homeroom, slept through lunch, he slept through recess. I don't know how you do that. He went to the nurse almost every single recess so he could sleep. And my teacher, I called her Miss Max in the last time I brought her up in the story, where I told you all about the in-school suspension. So Miss Max had called his parents on multiple occasions, and he just did not care. So this one time, we'll call this teacher Miss Eli, because that was what she taught. So Miss Eli saw him sleeping again through a very important topic, and so she told him to stand up. And he would stand for the rest of the lesson so he wouldn't fall asleep. So he was like bending on his desk, not sitting down. And when we all looked over at him, he was sleeping, standing up. I don't know how you do that, but he continued to fall asleep, standing up, over and over and over and over again. Also, one time I did my morning work in pencil. What color pencil? Because that was the only time I had. Anyways, so I don't know how they realized and made a big fuss over me doing my work in color pencil. But one time, when Miss Max told Sleepyhead to stand at the back of the classroom, I don't know how she missed him sitting down in the back of the classroom. I don't know how she missed that when he was in plain sight and she was staring right at him. Anyways, bye. I made an incident journal at school. It was literally just a Google slideshow that lasted for about a month until they found it. They called down everyone they could on all the intercoms. There were no real consequences to it because investigations concluded there really was not much in there that could get us into much trouble. Was in Lucio High School one time in geography. Pretty long day. We're working on something that involves a map, and out of nowhere, some guy raised his hand and asked the teacher where Africa was. A whole ass group of people spent like 6 minutes trying to find Hungary. So back in freshman year, I remember some kid in my class regularly brought Dutch Bros to class. Then my teacher mentioned caffeine can make you feel like using the bathroom. Then they noticed it, And from that day on, they still brought Dutch Bros and used the bathroom to poop daily during that class. The teacher had 2 bathroom passes to limit how many students can leave. The teacher and the student both decided to use one pass that's specifically reserved for when he has to poop, which means if anyone else needs a pass, they're limited to just one. What was the most embarrassing moment of your life? When I was still young, at around 13, I went to a bathroom in school and the stall was locked. A normal person would say someone is in there, but not me. My first thought was, how do you lock a bathroom stall behind you? That's not possible. So I crawled under the stall and boom, there was someone in there. A piece of me still gets cringe when I think about it. We were warming up for a track meet in 7th grade. I was a sprinter on the shorter relays. A 200-meter leg of an 800-meter relay was my best event. I was the final sprinter. I also had an upset stomach. Third leg is about to reach me, and I start my trot. I feel a rumble. I extend my arm back, and the baton hits my hand. I am speed incarnate. My breathing is measured. My limbs are working in perfect harmony. Calm as still water, I am a tranquil pool of glass. That is, until I shit my pants with terrible fury. I was less than a dozen steps into a 200-meter sprint, and with God as my witness, I was too fucking stupid to say, "This is a warm-up. I could probably duck out to the locker room and apologize. We are hosting, after all." That's for cowards. I ran as fast as I could in front of God and everybody, leaving a trail of shame in my wake. Love letter sent to a girl in school, and one of her friends took it from her bag and read it out in assembly. My girlfriend's parents came for Christmas last year. They gave us matching pajamas, I know. They wanted us to wear them that night, and let's just say the trousers were a size or two too small. I went downstairs in the new pajamas and sat down. The entire crotch split open. Let's just say nothing was left to the imagination, and I instantly became the most exposed person in the room, in front of her mom, dad, brother, and sister. Let me take you back to the summer of 1978. Saturday Night Fever and the Bee Gees were the thing. Disco was huge. I was 13. A girl I had a crush on invited me to a disco. This would be my first experience of the adolescent social world, and of course, a chance to impress my crush. I may even ask her out. But the eternal question, what to wear? I didn't have a wardrobe, just school clothes and play clothes. Well, it was a disco. I knew what a disco was thanks to John Travolta. I had a pair of white jeans. Why, I don't know, because no kid in my northern English working class town wore white jeans. Mum found me an old shirt of my brother's from the early 70s, red satin with huge spaniel ear lapels. But hey, it's disco, right? So off I strutted, fully expecting the local youth club to have a fully illuminated dance floor, professional light and sound system, and a huge glitter ball. I pays my 10-pence entrance and I walk in only to be met with the most hateful and incredulous stares that only teenagers could muster. Everyone was dressed in flares, Northern Soul bags, Adidas tees, and Levi's jackets. I toughed it out for all of 10 minutes until a school colleague, not even a friend, took pity on me and ushered me out. He came back home with me to help pick an outfit that wouldn't get my head kicked in. I returned hoping that people wouldn't recognize me as that twat in the red satin shirt and white jeans. Alas, they did recognize me for the rest of that evening and for the next 3 years of going there. I wonder if I ever really lived this down. I certainly never had the confidence to ask my crush out. When I was younger, my wife, now girlfriend then, we were at a bar with some friends. I had gone to the bathroom, and when I came out, I went to the bar to get a drink. Walking up, I saw my GF and the bar. At least, I thought it was her. Her back was to me, but they were both about the same height, similar hair, and damn near the exact same outfit. It didn't help it was a dark bar and I had been drinking. Anyway, I walked up and slapped this poor girl on the ass and grabbed it. She turned around and I almost died. I couldn't apologize fast enough. I went and got my GF, told her, and brought her over to her to show I wasn't trying to be a creep. Anyway, we left and I never slap her ass in public anymore. Lesson learned. Comment on the story, "Hey babe, Can you go over to that girl over there and tell her I'm not a pervert? I'll explain later. I was at a party in the woods, keg party / bonfire out of the back of pickup trucks, and had to pee. I made my way to the woods line to cop a squat. I was wearing a long ankle-length skirt. Somehow, my skirt got tangled up in briars and evergreen branches. The more I tried to free myself, the worse my situation became. Before long, my skirt was tangled up around me and almost all the way over my head. I was mummified in my own skirt, my bare ass and bits bared to the world, and my arms tangled in the skirt and trees. After sitting for a few moments, just enjoying the breeze, I relented to the fact that I had to call for help. I called out for assistance, and was it my friends that came to my rescue? Number. Of course not. It just had to be an Adonis of a man, quite possibly a model of some sort. After the initial shock of finding a girl stuck in a tree with her entire nether regions bared to the world, he kindly started helping to detangle me. He ended up having to use his pocket knife to cut parts of my skirt out of briars where I had really done a number getting myself stuck. I was dying of embarrassment. Now I find it hilarious, but at 20 years old, I thought it was the end of my existence. I went to fetch my ex in the airport. She didn't know I was coming to fetch her. As every passenger came out of the gate, there were only 2 people left waiting, me and another guy, so we started chatting a bit. We laughed at how slow the luggage are coming out from the conveyor. He then went to the side and took a seat. My ex then came out of the automatic sliding door, and she saw me with a big smile on her face. When she walked towards me, she then saw on the side there was that guy whom I talked to earlier. It was her new boyfriend. It was straight out of a movie. Feck. So it's going to be a little long, but I need to give some context here. I was 8 or 9 at the time and had a habit of stealing sugar cubes. Super weird, I know. My technique was to go downstairs in the kitchen for breakfast while still in my PJs and a bathrobe. I would put as many sugar cubes as I could in my pockets and run upstairs and eat them in my room. One day my dad was talking to me, but since I had sugar in my pockets, I was feeling guilty, so I tried to just run upstairs, haha. He caught my robe through the staircase railing and sugar cubes just fell out of my pocket. We just stared at each other awkwardly for a couple seconds. Then I went back downstairs. With a flabbergasted face, he took my robe and put it upside down. There were a lot of sugar cubes. He told me to get to my room, and I spent the day there since it was a weekend. At dinner, he served my food last and said, "Wait, I have something for you." He went and got the bowl of sugar cubes and put it in front of me and said, "Eat now. There is no need to steal in this home." I was so embarrassed, I never took 1 sugar cubes again. Ha ha ha. Now we all laugh about it. When I was 18, I was in a party flirting with 2 girls. They said something funny and I smirked, releasing a bit of air out my nose. Their face changed completely, so I felt that something was awkward but didn't know what. I went to the toilet and looked in the mirror and saw a thin string of snot hanging from my nose down to my mouth. But it was so thin that I didn't notice it and kept on speaking to the girls. I called 2 different teachers' mom in the same day. Oh, and on the phone with my coach, I ended the call by saying, "Bye, love you," out of habit. I was maid of honor at my then best friend's wedding. She didn't sleep the night before, and all day on wedding day, she alternated between vodka and Adderall. It was like she had no sense of time, but she has always been one to freak out about anyone trying to rush her. We were still getting ready in a hotel room when the pastor got fed up and left. I finally got her back to the house and had her sister-in-law rush her upstairs while I had to be the one to wade through annoyed guests to grab her dress and the rings. I ignored everyone's angry stares. We were getting dressed when people started to leave. Some had hired babysitters to attend the wedding, but only for a couple of hours. Then she decided to have a complete meltdown, which added another hour that we were late. The ceremony started 3 hours late and was a shit show. We hadn't even rehearsed beforehand. I didn't even know who the best man was, so I walked my damn self down the aisle. When it was the bridesmaid's turn, her husband jumped up out of his chair among the guests to walk her down the aisle. Then the groom's attendants just kind of wandered up to the altar with no rhyme or reason. I had done the florals earlier in the day, but somebody had fucked with them. So the bride ended up walking down the aisle with just a handful of baby's breath instead of the rose bouquet I had made her. The rest of the ceremony went smoothly, but afterwards, holy shit. The bride had another meltdown in front of everyone. I finally grabbed her by the shoulders and softly told her, "You need to stop. You're upsetting your kids." That lasted about a minute and a half before she and the groom started fighting right in the middle of the reception and disappeared. I had to stay overnight to be with the kids since I didn't know where the fuck their parents were. And so ended the clusterfuck wedding night of 2011. Hard to say, but I accidentally flirted with my art teacher once in middle school. She was wearing space pants, and I used the pickup line, "Your butt is out of this world," for some reason, thinking it was a compliment. Realized what I said, became more flustered and embarrassed than I can ever remember being. Proceeded to apologize for the next 10 minutes. Picture this. I was a 12-year-old, awkward girl, all arms and legs with zero athletic ability. I played basketball, and naturally, no one ever passed me the ball because I was so bad at it. My team was playing a tournament in our parochial school district, and we were the last two teams left. We were so close to beating them in the last game of the tournament, and then, lo and behold, someone passes me the ball. I'm elated and go running for the basket. People are cheering for me. This is my moment. They weren't cheering for me. They were screaming at me to stop because I was running towards the wrong basket. I shot the winning basket for the other team. I still die inside thinking about it, and I'm 41 years old. I was the new kid at a new high school, and our English teacher assigned us homework the day before senior ditch day. And I said, out loud, "Aw, homework on ditch day?" I didn't know ditch day was supposed to be a secret, because at my old school, it was a school-sponsored event. It was okay though, because I already had no friends. First time seeing my girlfriend's dad in a few years. I love her family. I was hugging everyone and was like on autopilot. He went for the handshake, I went for the hug. I felt his hand hit my stomach and died. I got made fun of nonstop for the whole visit. He's a bit of a stereotypical tough guy, and has even said he doesn't think I'm manly enough, and then I did that. I was 3 and went to Disneyland. I had just learned a new grown-up body word and thought it was the funniest thing ever. So when I was standing outside the men's restroom, waiting for my dad and grandpa, I glanced inside and saw a row of guys at the sinks. For some reason, my toddler brain thought this was the perfect audience. I pointed, looked straight at them, and shouted the word at the top of my lungs. The entire place went silent. I got a lot of confused and awkward stares, and it was pretty funny watching a bunch of grown men suddenly become very interested in washing their hands as quickly as possible after being loudly called out by a toddler. I was at an appointment to do my written driving test when I busted ass loud enough for the whole facility to hear, and all I could muster up was a meek "sorry" for the person closest to me and moved away from them. I have no idea how the fart got through my defenses, but the moment it escaped, it did so with a gusto and bravado I've never been able to duplicate since. When I was in middle school, I was probably about 13 at the time. I had a crush on one of my classmates, so I tried asking her out. She unfortunately rejected me, but I didn't let it get to too much. I pretty much moved and tried to continue being friends with her. So one day I was walking past her in the hallway, and all said was hi to her. She responded by yelling at the top of her lungs, "I don't like you," in front of everyone. And I will never forget how that moment felt, because it was not only embarrassing, but crushing as well to see the girl I once had a crush up be so nasty towards me. I was in a swimming competition as a teenager and had just started going through some very awkward growing up changes. My mom lent me a halter neck swimsuit because I didn't have one that fit properly. After my race, I confidently walked all the way back along the side of the pool in full view of everyone. As I passed one of the attendants, he smiled and casually said, "It's a bit chilly, love." I didn't think much of it at the time. When I finally got to the changing room and looked in the mirror, I realized something was very wrong. The top had come loose and definitely wasn't sitting the way it was supposed to. Let's just say I'd accidentally given the entire pool more confidence than they asked for. I have never walked so fast in my life. If these stories made you cringe even a little, mission accomplished, haha. Drop a like, subscribe for more secondhand embarrassment, whether it's awkward school moments, hallway disasters, or everyday life fails. And remember, no matter what you did, someone on Reddit probably did worse. See you next time.